Have you ever heard the term, the cat got your tongue? Have you ever not been able to find quite the right words? I know I do sometimes, especially on these videos. Maybe I'll show you the bloopers sometime. Well, that may be a sign of dementia. Maybe not for me, maybe not for you, but maybe someone you know. And it may or may not be the dementia itself, but a sign of a symptom within the dementia. I'd like to tell you a little bit about a story about a man that I did an assessment on a few years ago. I was called into the hospital to do an assessment on a man that had been diagnosed with end-stage Alzheimer's, and he was being put on hospice. They believed he was dying, and his wife had been caring for him for about 10 years, and she was done. And I felt so bad for this lady, as I do for many, many caregivers of family members that are struggling with similar diseases. Especially if that family member has not sought out proper help and assistance in time, as she had not. She had been caring for her husband for 10 years and had never sought any sort of assistance whatsoever. About 6 years prior, she had received a diagnosis, but it was not clearly defined. She had never received any diagnostic tests to clearly define that he had Alzheimer's, but she was convinced that it was Alzheimer's because the doctor said it's probably Alzheimer's. For the last 6 years, she simply was living with the belief that he had Alzheimer's disease. One of the biggest challenges with this particular situation was that she couldn't communicate with her husband, and it had gotten worse over the years. Now let it be known, this is an extreme case. In this particular case, this dear wife could not communicate with her husband, and she believed that he simply was babbling, that he had no ability to communicate with her. Every time she would ask any question, he would simply babble. He would simply say nonsense to her. Well, I performed the assessment, and I sat on one end of the room with him while he was in a hospital bed. She sat on the other end of the room in a chair. And every time I would ask a question, she would say, "He's not going to be able to help you. He just babbles." And I just felt sorry for her that she had come that far, that she was really done with the situation. But I was determined to try to communicate with him, or at least try. So I continued to do so. After about 20 minutes of asking him questions, she finally said, "See, all he does is babble. He says nonsense. There's nothing there." And then I turned to her, I went and sat next to her, and I said, "There's something I need to tell you about your husband. First of all, I believe your husband has the ability of communicating with you. Every question that I asked him, he answered." And she says, "What are you talking about?" All he was doing was babbling. He just said nonsense. And I said, "Actually, he answered every question I asked. He just answered them 10 minutes late." Sometimes when we have dementia, we simply have difficulty finding the right words. In this particular case, he had a delay in his ability to find the right words. And his delay lasted about 10 minutes. Now, if she could learn to communicate with him in that way, then she could learn to communicate with him, and she could have quality of life, and so could he. Now, this is an extreme case, but if for some reason your loved ones are experiencing any sort of difficulty in finding those words or a delay in speech of some sort, and this is unusual for that individual, there's a possibility that that person may be showing signs of dementia. I hope that this was helpful. If you like this video, please give us a thumbs up and subscribe to our videos. There's more to come. You have a great day.